help if I added myself to the screen there. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Two Off the Tee show. You may notice I am going solo today. Alan unfortunately had something come up, so it's just me. But we're still going to preview the Arnold Palmer Invitational before we get into the Bay Hill tournament. Just covering some stuff from last week. A lot of news about Anthony Kim, his big return to live. Not a very good start for Anthony Kim, as I believe he shot 12 over both of the first two rounds. I hope he gets it going and gets back, but I'm having a hard time watching live or getting excited about someone shooting in the 80s, but it'll be interesting to see. Probably not a good sign when I believe it was Dustin Johnson actually thought Anthony Kim, an autograph seeker, when he saw him on the side of the course. Obviously, water under the bridge for both guys. DJ apologized. Anthony Kim said no big deal, but that's kind of where the state is right now for Anthony Kim's golf game. The Cognizant Classic. I missed the Honda. Let's just put it that way. The good from last week was obviously the top five on Cam Young hit. That was at 5-1. I believe Allen had Billy Horschel at I think it was like 8 or 9-1 to top 10. That was really good, but just kind of to sum up the week, two of our favorite bets, mine, Sam Router to top 20 at plus 550, Allen CT Pan at plus 450. They both missed by basically a shot of doing that, and we're in the top 20 pretty much the entire tournament until the back nine on Sunday. I did not like this version of the Cognizant Classic. Not really sure if we can blame just the weather. The wind was way down on Thursday, and we saw that with guys just going nuclear. I mean, it was insane. This is a tournament that I think had reached double figures twice in the last 10 years, and there was multiple guys 6, 7 under, a ton of guys 4, 5 under. And then I'm not sure if it was just the fact that they had the rain come in Sunday and that, softened the course for the back nine. But I mean, it's unreal. I mean, last year we saw a playoff at 12 under, which I believe was the lowest score in quite some time. And then this year, again, congrats to Austin Eckroth, his first PGA Tour win at minus 17. But I mean, there's 27 guys at 10 under or better on a golf course that is known for being difficult and playing difficult. I don't know if this is a sign of the PGA Tour catering to these players, because we know that part of the reason that the Honda Classic, this event, the PGA National, was not getting the players that we have seen some of these other big events was because a lot of them were just saying it's too hard, right? And you go out there and you could embarrass yourself. I don't know if it was just an effort by the grounds crew, the PGA Tour, et cetera, to make the event easier. We know they added a par 5, the 10th, which was the easiest hole on the golf course. So if you say players, birdied it 3 out of 4 days, that's 3 extra strokes there. But it didn't feel like PGA National. It felt like, almost like the Waste Management or something with the way the scoring was up. We will not have that issue this week as we move on to Arnie's Place in Bay Hill, one of my personal favorite tournaments each year, and for good reason. First of all, Bay Hill is, I think, the toughest par 72 golf course on the PGA Tour year in and year out. Because what's remarkable is you see difficult golf courses, you'll see difficult golf courses that are par 70, even par 71. It is really rare to see a really tough par 72 course, especially when the par 5s are easy. I mean, these guys eat up the 4 par 5s. They're all relatively reachable by anybody with, easy to moderate distance. What makes this course so difficult? And I mean, there's a lot here, but the first is the par 3s, 200 plus yards. They all play over 200 yards. You got 5 par 4s of 450 plus yards. You've got some of the firmest, fastest greens, and they're really probably only middle-sized greens that the guys play week in and week out on tour. And then the rough is just outrageous. 3-inch rough throughout the course. Really outside of majors, you never see rough like this on the PGA Tour. And on top of that, there is 9 holes that water comes into play on. So not quite to the level that we had at PGA National, where 15 of 18 holes you can hit it in the drink, but half of the holes here you can. What is really interesting looking at the numbers, because I'll be honest, I did not notice this first time around, but to look at the winning story, let's just go back since 2014. You got we won it back-to-back in 14 at 15 at 13 under, Day in 16 at 17 under, Leishman 11 under, Rory 18 under, and Francisco Molinari in 2019 at 12 under. You need to draw a line there because they brought in a new superintendent after the 2019 event. And since then, the winning scores have gone way down in relative to par. 4 under by Tyrrell Hatton in 2020. Bryson DeChambeau, boy, do we miss that guy dropping bombs on the PGA Tour. 11 under 2021. Scotty Scheffler in 2022. And then Kurt Kitayama shocking the world last year, being the biggest long shot that's won here in quite some time at 200-1 at 9 under. So what is the difference? Because you notice in those years starting with Every and 14, all double digit. I mean, the lowest score was 11 under. Since then, the highest score was 11 under, and most of them. It's the opposite of what you would think. And that's what's so fascinating about what the superintendent did. He actually extended the fairways. But what he did was he made them very, very firm. It's some of the firmest fairways on tour. And what that means is if your ball hits on a firm fairway, and I know this is going to seem, self-explanatory, but if people do not understand this, I do want to explain it. If it's a firm fairway, the ball is going to roll forever. Think of the Open Championships. That's the the earmark. You see the ball just roll and roll and roll. For a PGA Tour event to widen the fairways and actually make it play tougher would not be the first idea that someone would come up with. It definitely would not be the first idea that I would come up with if I am trying to make a golf course more difficult. But what they've done in doing that is both tempted players to hit driver more, but also these fairways, obviously, they dogleg, they run, they move. The ball ends up running into the rough more often because, again, where fairways are wider, so players feel like that, okay, I can hit this fairway. But with the fairways being so much firmer, the ball is running out. And whether you miss a fairway by a foot or you miss a fairway by 10 yards, the kind of Bermuda rough that they have at the Bay Hill at Arnold Palmer's event is that thick, sticky Bermuda rough that anyone who is from the South is well aware of this rough. You get in there and there's any moisture, just forget about it. I mean, it's almost impossible, even for the best players in the world. And that's exactly what has happened. These are the toughest fairways to hit on tour, again, because of them being firm. They're top 15 in missed fairway penalty, meaning when players miss a fairway, you're penalized big time. So you need to start and finish your, modules with distance. I keep going back and forth on whether or not it's more important to have, just flat out elite distance, or would you rather trade some of that for people who actually hit a good bit of fairways? But I think the answer is actually both, which I know is a little bit of a cop-out, but we're going to get into the DFS and betting plays in just a second. But I look at it that there are 5 guys in this field that are elite drivers. And what I mean by that is they both hit the ball a long way and they hit the ball very straight. I think we can all agree that the top 3 are pretty easy to figure out. And that's Cam Young, Rory McIlroy, Ludwig Aberg. So those automatically should be the names that you're considering. I mean, both for your betting card and also for DFS purposes. The next two would be Scotty Scheffler, and I think Victor Hovland, who has really improved his driving accuracy, plus he's still one of the longer guys on tour. So I went back and looked at total strokes gained since 2000 to try to find out what kind of player does well here. This really shouldn't surprise you. The list is Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, Tiger Woods. So those are probably 4 of the best 8 players of the last 2 decades. And if you look at the winners, you know, I know we got Kitayama last year, but before that, Scheffler, top player in the world. Bryson DeChambeau, top player in the world. Then you get a little, you know, a couple other guys, Tyrrell Hatton, Francisco Molinari. We know what kind of games they have. They're grinders. They keep it in the fairway. They can battle. And then Rory McIlroy, again, best player in the world. So that's really the 2 avenues you're looking for people to win this week. Is it's not an exciting event to bet on because, yeah, you can take your shots with some guys further down the list, but in reality, more than likely, it's going to come from those guys like 25, 30 to 1 or less odds. And again, that's even more shown for that since 2012, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of what that would be 11 winners had odds of 33 to 1 or better. So just be mindful of that. I am looking specifically again, I want you to be elite off the tee. And if you're not elite off the tee, and I do want you to have distance, but just if you're not elite, you know, in that total driving category, long irons is so important because that's where you can really gain an advantage. Kurt Kitayama is the golden rule, right? We saw a guy last year who won this event who that's his game. Like Kurt is one of the best players on tour from 175 and further into greens. He had a really good driving week and he did well chipping and putting around the green. So, again, I'm looking for guys that are elite off the tee, great long iron players. And then obviously, just like with anything else, we're looking at, you know, bogey avoidance, you know, strokes gained around the green, strokes gained putting, Bermuda greens, firm and fast conditions. Real quickly, again, before getting to the board, just looking at the other thing that I want to mention is that this has the 3rd highest course correlation of any venue that we visit every year on tour. And Augusta is also one of the 2 that are in front of this course. What does that mean? That means that players who do well continue to do well, and certain players fit this venue. Don't believe me, Rory McIlroy. And again, I draw a line from 2020 forward from 2019 before because we had a different superintendent who has set the course up much different. He's widened the fairways, but made it much firmer and faster. Also made the rough thicker. And that has led to not some of the high scores that we saw in the, you know, early to mid to even late 2010s. And in 2020, it's been very difficult to score. But just looking at some of these guys, like Rory, he has got since 2020, just in the last 4, 3 top 10s. Matt Fitzpatrick, since 2020, 3 top 10s. By the way, Rory and Fitzpatrick, 13th and 14th, their other finish in those 4 years. A guy like Sanjay M, he's gone 3rd, 21st, 20th, 21st. Chris Kirk, another guy, has played this course really well. Even before 2020, he had a 15th and a 13th. He's gone 8th, 5th, 39th. Max Homa, 14th, 17th, 10th. Scotty Scheffler has gone 15th, 1st, 4th. Corey Connors, 3rd, 11th, 21st. Jordan Spieth, both of his last 2 appearances in 21 and 23, 4th and 4th finish. Cameron Young in his 2 appearances here, 13th and 10th. Do you see the theme here? Guys that do well here continue to do well here. So I do want people that have played well. It's Keegan Bradley, another guy that will probably not get enough kudos this week. 3 straight top 11 finishes. Like you take away his 42nd, the first year that they kind of changed the way that they set up this course, 3 straight top 11 finishes. So I am looking again very heavily at, obviously we want to look at guys with elite distance off the tee, guys that are, you know, those total driving numbers and strokes gained. I'm looking for long iron proximity. I'm looking for long iron strokes gained, all that. And then honestly, they have to have some kind of record on the course. So So let's start with the DFS plays real quick, and then we will get into the actual gambling plays. So for DFS this week, I think you heard me say it when we were getting into this, that there's 5 guys that I feel like that are elite this week, that I feel like because of their advantages off the tee, it's almost like they're starting 2-3 strokes better than the field. And they're Scheffler, McIlroy, no surprise, they are 1-2 in cost. Hovland, who's 4th in cost. Adberg, 6th highest person on DraftKings. And then you get all the way down to Cam Young, who's like 12th at 8,700. So that is immediately what I'm looking for when building a lineup, is I am looking at, I'm going to skip Rory and Scheffler because they're so expensive, right? And I'm not saying that I could see either one of those guys easily winning this event, but I think they're going to be heavily owned in DraftKings, and I know they're going to be heavily bet. So instead, I'm looking at what can I do with Adberg, Hovland, and Young anchoring my lineup. And the good answer is there's a great deal you can do. So let's just start with that. Let's say I'm going with all 3 of those. Adberg, this is, if you were designing a golf course for Ludwig Adberg to just dominate and people to think, oh my God, this guy is the next coming of whoever, this is the venue. Nobody drives it longer. Nobody drives it straighter. Great iron player. He's played well on Bermuda surfaces. Hovland is probably my favorite bet to win, and we'll get into that again at the end of the show. But, I mean, this course fits his game so well. Victor has become such a great driver of the golf ball. We know he's an elite iron player, elite long iron player. So then what's the bugaboo, right? We're worried probably about the chipping and putt. Fair, very, very fair thing to be concerned about. But we saw the Genesis chipped and putt really well on the weekend. And if you actually go and look at it, his best strokes gained numbers around the green and on them for his career are almost all events exactly like this. They're events with super firm and fast greens, and they're events that it is, I mean, just you can be dead missing a green by a few yards. You have that really thick rough just off the greens, just off the fringe. I think that Hovland is ready to erupt. You look at it, he had a great end to the 2023 year. We know about the Ryder Cup. Obviously, he played really well on the World Tour. And then he had that 22nd at the Century, a bad placement at the AT&T. And at the Genesis, I thought he really played well on the weekend. Again, like what I saw from him. So he's in there. And then Cam Young, again, if you don't want to bet him, I understand that. Cam is a guy that some people have been calling him Scam Young. And if you're betting him to win, it kind of feels like at this point, right? Like he just seems to never win an event. But I tell you what he can do. Boy, does he play courses like this. These difficult courses, these majors, these courses where you have a lot of long irons. It's important to drive the ball long and straight. Those are right up Cam's, playbook. And I mean, really, if you look at it, since Pebble, 8th at Phoenix, 16th at Genesis, 4th last week. I like everything I'm seeing from him, and I think he's an immense discount on this course at 8,700 at DK. So if we take those guys out of there, we're left with an average of 7,300. I'm not very good at math with that. That'd be 21,900 for the rest of our lineup. The first guy that I immediately look at, because I actually like to go the other way and go cheap, I can't believe Minwoo Lee is 6,600 this week. You could talk me into Van Ruin. You could talk me into Adam Stevenson from Canada. It's a weird event that there's 20, or I think it's 71 guys in the field, or maybe it's 69, but the top 50 in ties make the cut. It's kind of like the deal a few weeks ago. So you could have anywhere from 10 to 20 people miss the cut, which that really is terrifying if you're a DFS, because you have to think about the cut. but also the frustrating part of the guy misses a cut. You picked a guy that was like one out of literally 10 to 15 guys out of a 70-man field that couldn't make it to the weekend. But Minwoo Lee, I mean, come on. Like the Phoenix Open, it was not good. But other than that, I mean, what do you want from a guy in recent play? Finished 6th at the Zozo, 15th the World Championship, played the Amex really well, finished 21st there. Farmers Insurance, 43rd. And then obviously the runner-up this week at PGA National. And he is somebody who has thrived on windy, difficult courses. This is a course that the wind doesn't look out of control this week, but it can play a factor, and that should play into him. Now, that's a little bit of a risky play. I'm not going to lie. I feel very good about my core of the 3 expensive guys that can all hit it a mile. But that is a little bit of a dangerous pick, even as, it's just an insane discount. I know he's going to be high owned, but I just feel like at 6,600, he's too talented in that price range with the rest of those guys not to play. So now I'm looking for guys that have just done well at this golf course, and you can go literally a million different directions. Obviously Kurt Kitayama won here last year. He's playing good golf this year. He's at 7,300. Steven Yager, a guy that hits it a mile off the tee, can be infuriating, as we all know from last week when he missed the cut at a venue that we thought he would play very well, the PGA National. And, I mean, he's kind of having this every other deal that me and Joe Matz from the Football Show love, where finished 3rd at the Farmers Insurance, 71st at the Pebble, 3rd at the Mexico Open, 69th at the Cognizant Classic. So maybe that's the week for him to go back on. But the guys I'm looking at, I told you, Keegan Bradley, this is a Keegan Bradley golf course. This is the Taylor Keegan Bradley golf course. Like, not saying he's going to win, but I would be shocked if he misses the cut. Especially with such a small cut. I know he didn't play great at the Genesis. He didn't really play great at the Farmers, but this is his game. He hits the ball plenty far off the tee, hits it very straight, great long iron player, thrives on these Bermuda courses in Florida. And then Adam Scott, who I do kind of like, and if Alan was here, he would be yelling at me right now for trying to talk into playing Adam Scott, because I'm definitely an Adam Scott guy, but I mean, he has a great record at this venue that goes way beyond just recently. He has excelled at this venue for quite some time. I thought I had it right here, and of course I didn't. But I know that he has, I believe it's 6 top 20 finishes just since 2013. He's done well since the course has been changed by the new superintendent. And what I like is Scott's in good form early in the year. Normally, Scott plays his way into form. If you or somebody like me who has bet and followed Scott for a long time, he typically does not come out strong. Like if you notice, he didn't play in all of January. His first event was at Pebble, then the Phoenix and the Genesis. Well, he's got 3 top 20 finishes in his first 3 starts. That rarely ever happens. That means he's in good form. So if you want to, you can play that Adam Scott, Keegan Bradley lineup to where you got Minwoo Lee, Adberg, Hovland, Cam Young, and then you go Bradley Scott. Let's say you don't like Bradley, or you don't like Scott for that matter. Other ways you can go this. How about our man Chris Kirk, who, again, he's 7,800, been playing pretty good golf. He obviously had the win at the Century since then, 18th at the Sony, 26th at Pebble, 28th last week at very good track record at this course. One of the best track records at this venue of anybody here. Again, since the remodel, 2 top 10s, 39th plate to finish, made the cut all 3 events. Or maybe you want to go Corey Connors, another guy who has really done well at this venue. It's a venue that just since in the last 3, a 3rd, 11th, and 21st place finish. He's another one of those guys that constantly does well on these ball striking courses. The one kind of outlier that I do want to mention is Matthew Pavin, who it does scare me that he has not played in this event. It scared me that he had not played in the PGA National event last week, and I thought it was unbelievable what he was being priced at. It's kind of the same deal here. He still finished 28th last week, did not have his A game, still had a top 30 finish at a very difficult venue that he's never played before. And again, everything that you need to do well on this venue, Matthew Pavin is doing that. So I don't hate that either. Ultimately, if you're just asking me, Keith, what is your official lineup? I'm going to go with Scott and I'm going to go with Kirk. But again, I like the Keegan Bradley. There's a bunch of different ways you can go in that. All right. So real quickly, let's do some golf bets before we get out of here. So again, it's not very degenerate of me, but this is not the funnest betting week of the year by any means, because it's a very small group of people that have historically won at this venue. It's kind of a crapshoot, because if you look at the favorite ends up winning, a good bit of a time. And outside of that, we've had kind of some out of nowhere winners. I mean, Kurt Kitayama was literally broke the mold in the sense that never played here, never made a cut here. But I can't go with Scheffler at 7-1, Rory 9-1, no way. Victor Hovland at 16-1 and plus 360 top 5. Again, Hovland has excelled at these kind of courses. He's played well in his last 2 trips here. I believe it's a 10th and a 4th place finish. Is that right? 2nd and a 10th place finish the last 2 years that he's played here. He has actually historically putted the best on these kind of greens. Adberg, I am going to bet him 18-1 to win. I'm not sure about the 4-1 to top 5. I feel like it's one of those deals where he'll either win or whatever. And then again, call it a sucker bet, if you will. I'm going to go with Cam Young 25-1 and 5-1 to top 5. I said it last week and I'll keep saying it. He is eventually going to win on tour. He just is. And these events, like these type of events right here, where it is so imperative that you drive the ball well, and that's such a huge advantage, I'm going to keep betting him and hope that I get him, because once Cam Young wins an event, I promise you he will be in that Xander range. Xander really hasn't won anything either, but he's consistently 16-1. Cantley really hasn't won anything either. He's 18-1. You know what I mean? Like, Spieth's not exactly setting the world on fire, and he's 22-1. So I am going to stick with that. From there, I'm going to move down the board. Again, not a fun week on DK. I mean, like Zalatoris and Jason Day, I both really like them. They're only 30-1 to win. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I know it's a field of only 70 players, but that feels kind of insane. I do want to, holler at Jake Knapp. Just keeps on ball striking. Now, the one thing that concerns me is this is a course where if he misses fairways the way he has the last 2 weeks, I do not believe he's going to be able to recover. But 50-1 and 10-1 to top 5 for a guy that has just been on fire, 4-1 to top 10, feels pretty good. I do love Corey Connors, 4-1 to top 10. I also like Adam Scott at 4-1 to top 10. I think those are good plays. And then I will take the outright on Keegan at 55-1. I think that he has definitely got a chance to win at a venue like this. And if we're looking at long shots, Adam Hadwin, 65-1. The Canadian has excelled. I mean, excelled in some of these difficult courses. He's in great form this year. And I mean, if you just look at it, he plays difficult courses really, really well. And then the one other name I do want to give, again, that I mentioned him just a little bit earlier, but I don't understand how Matthew Pavin, what he needs to do to get more betting, just credit, respect. I mean, right now he is 80-1 on DraftKings, 14-1 to top 5, 6-1 to top 10. On tour right now, he is 2nd in strokes gained approach, 1st in total strokes gained, and top 5 around the greens and in putting. I mean, what are we missing here? Like, and not to mention his finishes have been great. I mean, he's had a top 30 finish in 7 of his last 8 events. He's got 4 top 10s. He's got a win and a runner-up. The win has been at the most difficult venue he's played yet, because we saw last week at the Cognizant that just ended up not being what everybody thought it was going to be. And then if you're looking for just like a because again, we've had guys 200, 300 to 1 win here. I think I have to bring up Nick Dunlap again, who I like that he had another good week last week. I know it wasn't the difficult course that we wanted it to be, but he's got that elite distance that I'm looking for. And that really is what it's all about, is elite distance. And I also like, for a long shot, Andrew Putnam, 11 to 1 to top 10. He has had a couple of good finishes here. And again, I mean, top 10, if you think about it, and we'll talk more about this, and my article will be out tomorrow, but I think that it may be a prop week, to be honest, because, I mean, it's kind of crazy you can get some of these prop odds on guys just to top 10, when if you think about it, they've got to beat 60 players to finish in the top 10. It's weird that those odds to me seem high, but the odds to win, again, I mean, this is no disrespect, but the fact that friggin' Zalatoris and Day, who are both my guys, who I love on venues like this, and I'll probably, again, because I'm a degenerate, will bet them at 30 to 1. They're 30 to 1 to win. Like, come on. Day one very easy event last year. Zalatoris, we're still kind of waiting for that big win. So just be careful this week. I do like, though, for DFS, again, that core that you can get in with Cam, Hovland, and obviously Adberg. And then you can kind of fill it in. Like I said, there's a bunch of different directions to go. I really do love Minwoo Lee at 6,600. Again, I know he's going to be high on, but I like that. And by adding Lee with that core, you can really get some consistent, steady guys, which is what you want this week, because it's a weird week. It's only going to be, like I said, it's going to be top 15 ties make it. I think there's 69 people in the field. So, enough people are going to miss it to where it's going to mess up DFS, including probably some of my lineups. But overall, it's not that many. So, again, I apologize for Al not being able to make it. That is, just part of him getting that big boy gig with ESPN Richmond, Virginia. He had to go on the air this afternoon. So I hate that. But we're entering a fun time of golf season. I mean, we've got, again, the Arnold Palmer this week. The Players is coming up. The Augusta's right around the corner. And then, I always tell people, once Augusta's here, the tour's figured out. You got a major every month. It's everything that you want. So be sure to check out all the work on Fantasy Six Pack. Be sure to join Fantasy Six Pack's Discord, where you have access to morons and degenerates like myself and Alan. You can ask us all about what gambling plays we like, what DFS plays. We'll talk it out. It's something I enjoy doing with the people on there. And a lot of great stuff coming out on Fantasy Six Pack right now. I know they're getting into baseball and have a lot of cool stuff for fantasy, some videos that are up on the YouTube video or channel. So be sure to check all those out. And me and Alan will be back next week to, I believe it's the Players, right? Or maybe I'm a week ahead, but we got good golf ahead. Hopefully we'll get some good tournaments. And I really do hope this plays difficult this week. It was really disappointing to see the Honda Classic just kind of look like your average, like October, November tournament where guys are just tearing it up. Like I look forward to these difficult courses, seeing how these guys play these tough courses. I don't think we'll have to worry about that with the history of the Arnold Palmer, but who knows? Maybe they are trying to make the courses easier because that's what they're, the feedback they're getting from the players, and they're worried about losing more guys to live, which if that's the case, maybe that is something we're heading for. But I don't think that's going to be the case this week. I've already seen pictures of the rough. I mean, you basically lose your golf ball the minute it bounces in there. Again, be sure to check out all Fantasy Six Pack stuff. We appreciate you listening to the preview of the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.